Hello, I'm Taylor and welcome to the Tribe Live's 30 Days of Yoga Challenge. Today is day 7, so after today's class we are officially 1 week in. So that's awesome. If you stuck with me all 7 days, congrats. 7 days in, that's awesome. So for day 7, we're going to just continue what we're doing, right? Building on the basics, building on what we know. I'm going to introduce, just me, I'm going to introduce some squat variations and crow pose as well. So if that sounds like a plan to you, roll out your mat and we'll begin. Starting today's class in a nice seated position, you can remove the flesh from your sits bones, sitting nice and tall. Always the option to place a blanket under your hips as well if that feels good. And just take a few breaths. Starting to close our eyes here as we arrive onto our mats. I always like to allow a minute or two to let us do this, right? Yoga is not just a physical practice, so I want to allow you time and space to mentally arrive here as well. And as you breathe, start to notice your breath. Maybe take some deeper breaths than you previously were. Just inhaling through your nose, expanding your lungs, and then exhale out your mouth, just arriving on your mat. And you'll hear my breath throughout practice. You might have already picked up on that from the other classes. The intention, and the reason why I leave it in there, and I'm so deliberate in it, is to remind you to breathe and check into your breath. So just a reminder there. And then we will check in with our bodies, noticing any tension, just doing a quick scan of the body, and also mentally checking in. You might already know what's already up there. It's been probably repeating in your mind all day, or you're already planning for the next few things. So taking note of it, and if you can, try and set it aside. Place it on the side of your mat. It will be there when you're done, but allow yourself a few minutes of space up there. When you remove something, you create the space that allows for new things to come in. So, lastly, set an intention for your class today. So if you set an intention in day 1 of the challenge, I invite you to bring that to top of mind again right now, and if there's something else that you would like to work on, or not work on, but hoping to get some clarity on, something that's calling to you a little bit louder today, go ahead and bring that into your heart. So take a few more deep breaths here. And then we'll open our eyes. You can bring your legs out in front of you, flexing the feet, maybe removing the flesh from the sits bones again, sitting nice and tall. And we'll just do a gentle fold to wake up the spine. So you can inhale, reaching your arms up, and then exhale, fold with the chest. And maybe even for this first one, you don't even want to go with trying to grab your toes, right? Maybe your body's a little cold and muscles aren't really warmed and stretching yet. Just doing this, again, leading with the heart, always folding at the hips instead of the lower back. And then bending the knees, you can open the knees out to the side, bringing the soles of your feet together. Come into butterfly. So inhale, again, rotating that pelvis down and lifting with the heart. And as we fold with the chest, the elbows go out to the side. You'll really feel this in your inner thighs and your groin area. So we're just stretching it out, warming up the legs and the spine. And then rising back up, bring your legs out in front of you. Well, not in front of you, a little bit wider, but straight and in front of you. I'm gonna grab a blanket just because I can tell my hips and legs are a little stiff today. So listening to your body, you know, like maybe yesterday my body was a little bit warmer and I can fold a little deeper. And today I'm feeling the effects, I'm a little stiff. So I'm honoring that. So hips lifted a little bit. We'll bring the right hand to your left hip, the inside of that left hip, and then lifting that left arm up to the sky, sitting tall. We'll lean over to the right. As you lean over, bringing that right elbow inside that right leg, and just as we lift, we're gonna feel that stretch on our left side body. I'm already feeling it. So lift that left arm up and over and just twisting the heart to the sky a little bit. You can also place that right arm on the ground as well if that feels good for you. And then rising back up. Coming to the other side, left hand on that right hip, right arm up to the sky, and then exhale, leaning over to the left, twisting the heart to the sky. Breathing and feeling that stretch on the right side body. And rising back up. Bring your legs together. Maybe bending the knees here briefly. We'll come into a squat. So as you rise up, wiggling the feet out a little bit as wide as that feels good for you. Eventually you want to work to have your feet parallel, facing forward. But again, I'm a little stiff today, so honor where you are as well. So you'll bring your hands to your heart, and the shoulders or the elbows go inside your legs as you press the inner thighs away, and the inner thighs press back. That's kind of the trick with this balance pose, or just finding balance in this pose. So you sink the weight back into your hips, back into the heels as you lift the heart. Stay in here for a breath, and then we'll place a right hand outside or down on the ground as we reach up with that left arm, twisting over to the left a little bit. And then placing that hand down and coming to the other side. And then planting the hands, straightening the legs, toe heeling the feet out. So they're about the distance of your wingspan. So if you were to stand up, your arms are here, noticing where the feet lie. And then if you have a block, you can always use it for this pose as well, just to prop you up. But what we'll do is we'll place our right hand down in the center of the mat. So palm down. And then pressing into the ground, lengthen the spine through the top of the head. You're twisting over to the left, lifting that left arm up to the sky. And noticing where the weight is too, maybe shifting back and forth a little bit, forward and back, just to see how that feels, and just twisting with a long spine. And then coming back to center, placing the left hand, rotating over to the right, lifting the right arm up to the sky. Reaching forward with the top of your head. And then dropping that right hand down. Toe heeling the feet back a little bit closer, a little bit wider than hips distance. We'll come into crow pose. So for crow pose, and I would get into this pose at the back of your mat. So clearing out your space, come into the back of your mat. And for crow pose, it's more difficult. It looks more difficult than it really is, I promise. So give it a try. Just give it a try if this is brand new. So you can plant your hands out in front, and you're in the squat position, right? So the trick is, as you come forward, you lift the hips. And when you lift the hips, you bring the knees into your armpits, okay? And so you play around with rocking forward and back a little bit, shifting the weight. And maybe that's where you are, and you just practice that. Otherwise, eventually you start to bring up one foot, And then the other foot. Continuing to breathe. And you can drop the feet down. So we'll do that one more time so you have another chance to do it. Again, try it. It's not as difficult as it looks. It can be intimidating when you're just trying new things like this. So placing the palms down again, spreading all 10 fingers, knees nice and wide, lifting the hips nice and tall, bringing the knees to your armpits, and then slowly rocking forward. And lifting up the toes. And then dropping the feet down. We'll walk our hands out to down dog. Taking a few breaths. Walking out the dog. As always, staying fluid in this pose. Inhale, lift that right leg up and back. Bringing that right knee to that right wrist. We'll come to half pigeon. So as you rise up, flexing that right foot to protect that right knee. My right side is always more tight than my left, so I'm gonna stay a little lifted in this one today. Lifting up with a slight back bend here. And we're lifted. And again, if you have a block handy, block or blanket, prop it up underneath that right hip. Feels really nice. And then you can start to roll down, coming forward onto relaxing your head and chest. We'll take a few breaths here. Really breathing into that right hip. Noticing if your jaw is tight or if you're squeezing your hands or your shoulders, and doing your best to relax, letting the muscles go. And then rising back up. Slowly, and then shifting your weight into that right hip. Bringing that left leg up and over. So as you're sitting tall, I'll show you. So your left ankle is outside your right knee, and you're sitting nice and tall with both sits bones grounded. So make sure you feel that. Placing the left hand outside your left hip, reaching the right arm up to the sky, and then twisting over to the left, bringing that right elbow outside your left thigh. Always lifting from the top of your head before twisting a little deeper. And coming back to the right side for a brief counter stretch. And then sliding that left leg up and back. Flip the toes under, slowly coming to a three-legged dog with that right leg up to the sky. Rolling the ankle, opening the hip. And then coming back to down dog. Inhale, lift that left leg up and back. Bringing that left knee to the left wrist. And lowering down to half pigeon on the left side. So this side is a lot more open for me. So sitting up nice and tall. And then walking your hands out. Coming all the way down. Taking a few breaths, really breathing into that left hip, left glute, noticing if you're holding any tension in your jaw or your hands, releasing that tension. And then rising back up. Plant the hands, slide sliding onto that left hip. You can bring that right leg up and over. Again, bringing that right foot outside that left knee as you sit with both sits bones on the ground. Planting the right hand outside the right hip, left arm up to the sky, and then as you twist, left arm outside right thigh, twisting over to the right. Sitting tall before we exhale, twisting a little deeper. And coming back to center. Over to the left side for a brief counter stretch. And then bring that right leg up and over. Flipping the toes. Coming back to three-legged dog with that left leg up and back. Bending the knee, opening the hip. And then squaring the hips. Down dog. Looking forward, you can jump, step, or walk. Your feet in between your hands. Rolling onto your backs, or onto your butt. We'll come into boat. So again, lifting the legs, shins parallel to the ground, lifting up the hips, or lifting up the chest and arms, reaching up, and then hugging your knees into your chest. You can roll forward and back a few times before releasing down to the mat. Hugging that right knee into your chest and really pulling it in, opening that hip. Left leg is long. Maybe pulling it out to the side a little bit too, up by your shoulder. And then switching sides, hugging that left knee into your chest. Right leg is long. Pulling it up towards your left shoulder, really opening the hips. And releasing that. Bringing the soles of your feet together with knees out. So kind of like butterfly, right? So I believe this is called restorative butterfly, something like that. And so one trick for this, if this is not feeling so great for you, you can always place blocks outside. Pillows, blankets, anything that creates a little height underneath. And you can just sit here with your soles of your feet together, knees open. You can bring your hands on your heart and your belly, maybe cactus arms, whatever feels good for you. And we'll be here for a few breaths, just relaxing into this. And if you want, you can stay here for final Shavasana. We'll be here for about a minute or two more. Or you can place your hands outside your thighs, bringing your knees back together, your knees back to the sky, and then just straighten them out. Dropping the feet out to the side and palms up to the sky, coming into final Shavasana. So we'll take a deep inhale through our nose. Exhale out our mouth. And you can always pause it here at your own time. Take a longer, shorter Shavasana, or stay with me for a minute or so and I'll wake us up to finish class. So just breathing with each exhale, allowing yourself to melt into your mat. slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Reaching up overhead, stretching from your fingertips to the tips of your toes. Taking your time, rolling onto your right side body. Pausing here for a breath or two. And then making your way up to a nice comfortable seated position on your mat. Rolling your shoulders up and back down your spine. Inhale, reaching your arms up to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart. I always close practice with a moment of gratitude, thinking of one thing you're grateful for and holding it in your heart. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.